It is Friday morning and we are coming towards Christmas. And I've had so many conversations with business owners who are interested in buying cars for their business. So last week we talked about the reasons you should buy a car for your business. And I promised you that I would have the professional real estate founder and CEO, Mr. Patrick Jefferson, is here joining me today. And Patrick has helped tons of my clients save thousands, y'all, of dollars and reduce their taxes. And we're going to talk about it today. And we're going to talk about it how he does it, how we do it together right after this break. All righty. Hey, Patrick.
Hey,
You are live. This is Business Convos and Coffee, Patrick. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I'm a big fan,
How
so
you feeling this morning?
I'm great. I'm great. How about yourself?
I am good. Okay, so let me tell you what I talked about last week. So, guys, this is Patrick Jefferson. Patrick, tell him hi. Tell him hi. Tell him hi. Wave at him.
Hey.
So, Patrick, I'm always bragging about you because you have helped so many of my clients lower their taxes. So last week I gave like the 5 reasons you should buy a car. And my number one reason was because it's a tax write-off and it's a tax deduction, right?
Mhm.
Now, so I send clients to you because a lot of people don't even know that there are certain types of cars that give you more tax benefit than others. So sometimes when I send clients to you, we're looking for specific cars for their business.
Mhm.
And one of the number one questions that I get asked is, how do you buy a car for your business?
Mhm.
And give them a little bit of your background because the reason why, like, first of all, I love the name of your company.
Thank you.
It's called, instead of real estate, y'all, it's called Wheel Estate. And he actually helps you, invest in your wheels. Because I always say that we invest in our business and we don't just spend money. And so Patrick, tell them a little bit about your background and how real estate came about because you have so much experience, which is why you're able to save people.
So basically, well, first of all, I'm a veteran. Spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. Got out. I was actually an accountant when I got out. I went to college, became an accountant. And my company that I was working for Arthur Anderson at the time when they went bankrupt over the whole big Enron scandal. So I had a friend of mine who had been in the car business. Guy I went to sixth, seventh, eighth grade. He was in the car business. He talked me into hanging out at the dealership one weekend and ended up walking me through a car deal. I had no idea what I was doing.
Okay.
I ended up loving it. This was at a Mitsubishi dealership. My first year in the business became salesman of the year. From salesman to sales manager to general sales manager to general manager to owner. So I owned a couple of dealerships.
Wow.
Spent over 20 years doing just various different levels in the business. Came back down because I wanted to learn more about the financing aspect of it, which was really my forte. So I spent my last 7 years in the business just doing finance. Finance manager, finance director. When our last child finished school, I told my wife, I said, I'm done. I've put in 70 hours a week for over 20 years. Enough is enough. I'm done. So I retired, started a fitness company, Lace Up Fitness. Still do that. It's still fun. And then I thought I had retired. My wife and I used to laugh. I would drive by a dealership and I'd get nauseous because I'd spent so many hours on it, at a dealership. And then family members would call, Patrick, I'm about to buy a car. Will you go with me to the dealership? Okay. Then it was friends, the same thing. Then my old customers started calling me, Patrick, I'm about to buy a car. Will you please help me out? So it got to the point where I found myself at a dealership, 2-3 days a week anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so real estate consulting was born. I was like, hey, I might as well make this into a business. And now I pretty much handle the process for my clients from start to finish. You tell me what you want. I find it for you. I go, I put my hands on it. I drive it. I look at it. I touch it, feel it, get it looked at, get all the research, do the full inspection. My tagline is I handle everything but your signature because I can't sign for you. But I literally pursue finding a car for you as if I was buying it for myself. So that's how we got started.
And
so
you do, my friend, it's on the screen. I'm trying to show clients that are so excited about for them. This is a car that you guys that he actually got for some clients recently of mine for their business. So Patrick, Mr.
That's actually
Accountant,
their second car. Because remember last year they bought a RX 450 HL on New Year's Eve, but their family was growing, so they needed something bigger. So that's how they got into this car last month. So great.
Yes. So listen. So what is the top 3 things that a business owner, because you've owned a dealership, first of all, you're an accountant. I'm going to still make you an accountant, Mr. Retired Marine, owned a dealership. So you're an entrepreneur too, right? You've done every job in the dealership and you've been the finance manager. Okay. So what, as a business owner, if I say, hey, I want to buy a car for my business, what do I need to bring to the dealership?
Basically, so if you're buying it used to be a time where you could actually just put a car in the business's name only. Okay. Days of bank after 2008, the bank started changing that up a lot. Okay. The recession changed a lot in the car business. So now, yes, you still need to bring all your information for your business, your federal tax ID number, all of your information, but you also have to have a guarantor. And that's what a lot of people don't tell you a lot of times. You need a guarantor to go on the loan if you're financing. Now, if you're just paying cash for the vehicle, you can register it in the company's name. The whole nine will register it that way. You don't have to worry about putting your name on it. It just goes straight into the business's name. But if you're trying to finance, there's going to have to be a guarantor on that loan. And a lot of people don't understand it. They see these YouTube videos or they read these internet articles and they come in and they think they know more than we do. And, I don't like to argue with people. I just tell them, look, I understand what you think you know, but here's the thing. If you're financing this vehicle, you're going to have to be a guarantor. There's going to have to be a guarantor. And that's a representative from the company that's going to be liable for this vehicle in the event that the company defaults on the loan. So
how much ownership? Does it have to be a specific percentage owner, but it just needs to be someone who's a responsible party?
They have to be listed as a member of that company, and they can go on as a guarantor. They don't have to, yes. So as long as they're willing to accept the responsibility in the event that the loan is defaulted, then it doesn't matter. It could be anywhere from the CEO to some clerk, as long as they're willing to take on, yes, as long as they're willing to take on that responsibility. And
it's interesting that you would say that, because that kind of opens up some of the possibilities in my head, because you could literally get a business card for your assistant, right? And if it's their car that they're going to be using, but they're using it for business, then like a sales rep or someone like that. Because remember, you got sales rep, it's a company car, but make them the guarantor on the car if something were to happen. And a lot of times you can even transfer the car to them if the employment arrangement does not work out. That's some good stuff. Okay, so what I heard you say was we just need to have the business. It could be in the business name, and you need a guarantor. Is there any financial paperwork that the finance people are looking for? Tax return? Of course, we don't have a last pay stub, a profit and loss statement. Like, what do you need to bring, or do you need to bring anything?
More than likely, it just depends on if the business has established credit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you're a small business, and this happens a lot. I see this all the time. Yes, they're going to ask for your tax returns, because what most people do, especially when they're in their small businesses, they made 200,000 and they make their expenses so that their expenses are 195,000. Well, the bank is like, okay, you made $5,000 last year. You can't afford this car if your expenses are this high. So tax returns, or in some cases, it just depends on how strong the finance manager. And this is the thing I try to get everyone to understand. All dealerships aren't created equally. Okay, you have some finance managers who don't know how to navigate through this. I had such a great relationship with most of my lenders where I'm like, look, y'all know the tax game. Y'all know how these businesses are doing it, but look at their bank statements. So we would actually pull their bank statements and show the revenue going into their bank account. And if you have a strong enough relationship with those financial institutions, then they'll give you the approval that you need, especially if you have a strong guarantor. So.
All right, that's some good stuff, because it's almost similar to what we talk about when we're helping entrepreneurs get into houses. A lot of times the problem is that as entrepreneurs, our goal is to make sure that we're keeping as much money in our business as we can, so we can keep growing, right? Mm-hmm. And so that means that we're trying to get our taxes as low as we can. And we're trying to show that on somewhere we don't know, right? Well, I know and you know, but most entrepreneurs don't know how to show that they've made money. And so that's one of the things that we do, Patrick, is, one of the new products that my firm is offering is called a finance book and a tax book. And these are two reports that go with your tax return. The finance book shows the finance director, like someone like you, or you used to be, why my numbers are so high and are not what this tax return says. And then the tax book says, well, this is why my numbers are so low. And you just pointed out that that's just a great point. It's a great product. Now I'm tooting my own horn and interjecting this product that we've come up with as a firm. So what you're saying is, without our product, you typically entrepreneurs show up with bank statements. Because if the tax return says I only made $5,000, that means you can't afford a $50,000 car, right? No one's going to give you, that. But there are alternative ways. And my most favorite thing that you said was that all dealerships are not created equally. That's exactly what I say about the business, about banks. All banks are not created equally.
All banks are not created equally. Every deal, and I try to get my clients to understand this. One of the things that frustrates me more than anything else in this business is when a client tries to compare their deal with another person's deal. Spiceda, you and I can go out tomorrow and buy the same exact car and have completely different terms. There are so many variables in this business with a car deal. The day that we bought the car, incentives might have been on that car one day and not on the next day. How much money you put down, what your credit is versus what my credit is. I could be a 740, you can be a 760, and our interest rate is different. There are so many different variables. How long that car has been in inventory, which determine what the dealership is willing to do, there are so many variables. And I tell people this all the time. There is no shame in not knowing. There's no shame in hiring someone like me, because I know how to navigate through every single scenario because I've done it so many times. Again, people go out, they'll read an internet article or they'll watch some YouTube video, and they'll go into a dealership and they think they're armed and dangerous. And they think that they know what they're talking about. And I can tell you, from being on the other side and working for the dealerships, I used to always get tickled because I'm like, I'm about to make a whole lot of money on this person who thinks they know everything. Because you just don't. And the ones who think they know the most, those were the ones that were most easily manipulated, on the other side. The thing I love about what I do now is, I navigate through that. A lot of times the dealerships get frustrated because they're throwing their sales pitch, they're saying this, they're saying that, and I'm finishing their sentences for them because for 22 years, I taught people how to say those exact sentences. So I already know what they're going to say before they say it. And, it's a frustrating thing, for them because, so again, and here's the best thing is when the dealership gets angry, all it does is just give me more credibility because it shows my client that I know actually something that you're trying to sell. So, it works out. I know how to
So
navigate.
give me an example of like why, because I will tell you, every client that I've sent to you has been very pleased. And they're like, they'll never buy a car the way that they used to again. What is it so different? Like it's almost like you're a real estate agent, but for wheels, right? You're a real estate agent, right? You create your own market.
I'm your attorney. I'm your attorney for the car business. So yeah, I'm your real estate agent for the car business. So I'm gonna give you a great example. And with one of your clients that I dealt with. So they go to the dealership. We're sitting there. The dealership comes out and they bring their credit report. They said, this is your credit score. And they bring out, it was TransUnion. And so they say, as you see, because your credit score is this, your interest rate is going to be a little higher because your credit score is falling. Your credit score is like a 675, right? I said, where are the other two bureaus? And they're like, huh? And where are the other two bureaus? And they're like, well, we only, BMW, they only go through TransUnion. I'm like, but you're not just going to go through BMW. I know you have 30 different lenders. I know you have probably about 12 different high-end dealers. And I'm like, you're not just going to send it to BMW. You're going to send it to Bank of America. You're going to send it to SunTrust or Truist now. You're going to send it to, this credit union, LGE or Delta or, whoever you have. But I know you're not just going to send it to BMW, and you're going to need Equifax and you're going to need Experian. So let me see the other two reports. So they go back into the office, and you could see them literally through the glass, and they're fussing in there. So finally, and then they send out a manager, and he's like, well, we only really show TransUnion. I said, show me Experian and Equifax. And the reason I knew what they were doing, they were trying to convince us that this client had a low credit score so that they could, so that they could bump up their interest rate.
Yeah.
But when I finally forced them to bring out the two other reports, they were a 745 and a 750. But see, these are the type of tricks that they try to play. But I know because I used to do it. I used to train people to do this. That's how I used to.
100 points.
Exactly. See, I know the game, and each one of the. And see, when you're dealing with your lenders, all you have to do is, sure, okay, TransUnion may be in at 650 or 660 or 670. And I'm like, well, I need a prime rate for this client. I need to be at 4.9. Well, now prime rate is like 5.9. But anyway, and they're like, well, did you pull the other bureaus? Well, yes. Can you show me, a prime credit score? Yes. Because I pulled the other bureaus, all I do is fax it through to the lender, and they're like, oh, okay, fine. And I get the prime rate. And they know that. But what they want to do is they tell you, based on your 670, that your prime rate is 7.9, then they send in your other credit reports and they get an approval at 5.9, where they've just made 2 interest rate points on you, which translates on a $50,000 vehicle, that translates to about a $3,000 profit for a dealer.
So they make money on like saving, like, so if they can get it at 3.9 but it's at 5.9, they make the extra 2%.
Yes. So I mean that's classic. Yeah. So you have what you call a buy rate, and you have what you call a sell rate. Okay. So anytime I go and I'm negotiating for my clients, it's like in the the finance manager comes back with a rate. I'm like, is that buy rate or is that sell rate? And they said, well, that's buy rate. I said, well, show me the approval. And I can't tell you how many times I've caught them in a lie. They're trying to make a point. They're trying to make 2 points. They're trying to make 2.5 points. I think the max right now that you can make is 3 points. There was a time prior to 2008 where there was no limit. There was no cap. I could mark your interest rate up 10 points, you know.
Wow.
But after the recession, the banks started really crashing down on that. And so now I think the highest is 3 points. 3 points translated on like I said, a $50,000 car. That's significant. That's
Or $100,000 car.
$1,000 car, like it's like just like the one from yesterday that I sold on a So I mean, it's significant.
That's a lot. So wait a minute. So what I just learned from you is that dealerships make money not just by selling us cars, but there are also other ways. Because I thought that it was on the gap insurance, right? But you just showed me that they even make money on the finance deal, which is why. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, which is why representation becomes important, because we think that we're negotiating. Because if it were just me, I would think that I'm just walking in negotiating the cost of the car. And then the dealer could be like, yeah, we'll drop the car for you, but then add it on this other stuff. And I think I'm winning, but I've totally lost.
Exactly. And here's the thing that I try to get my clients to understand more, so that everybody is so caught up in the price of a car. Okay. How much can you get knocked off of that? Patrick, how much can you get knocked off that price? And I tell them, y'all are so focused on the wrong thing. Okay. Your two biggest money making areas in a car dealership are the finance department and the service department. Okay. There used to be a time where you could mark up a vehicle, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, especially a pre-owned vehicle. And it was very common, because back then, the only thing I was competing with was maybe a car that looked something like it down the street, or when you pulled out your Saturday paper, you were, comparing cars according to prices in the Saturday paper. Well, now, if I buy a car, if I buy a pre-owned vehicle, or if I'm looking for a pre-owned vehicle, I am comparing it to every other pre-owned vehicle within a 500-mile radius. So if the dealership is adding $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 onto the price of the vehicle in profit, they're going to price themselves out of the market. I'm gonna tell you right now, 99% of your vehicles that you pull up online, there may be $2,500 in profit, maybe, and that just depends on what the dealership was able to buy that vehicle for from the auction or in a trade-in, or whatever the case may be. But the market value is set because you're competing against everybody within a 500-mile radius. So your Jeep, for instance, if you were to sell that vehicle tomorrow, okay, or trade it into a dealership, that dealership puts it in, that same exact vehicle is competed against, God knows, like 600 other vehicles exactly like it within a 500-mile radius. They can't market it so much. But people are so programmed to still focus on the price of the vehicle. And because they're so dialed into that, they don't realize that the finance manager is the one that's really the only person in the dealership who makes more money than the finance manager is the general manager. Okay. And I made more than my GM in finance, because if you really know what you're doing, you really know how to navigate through those situations and, make money. But that's the other thing where I come in. When I sit in the finance office, that's where you can really see the frustration. When I'm sitting with my client in the finance office, that's where you really see the frustration, because yes, I truly believe in extended warranties. I truly believe in gap protection. I truly believe in, making sure that your vehicle, especially with the level of computer, your vehicle right now is just literally it's a walking computer, a rolling computer, I should say. And you don't have the days of buying extended warranty to protect your engine and your transmission are gone. Well, unless you're buying a Nissan or an Infiniti, but we'll get into that later. But the days of worrying about your engine or your transmission, they're pretty much gone. As long as you do your preventive maintenance, your vehicle's gonna take care of you. It's the computer systems. It's all the computer components that are in a vehicle. And yes, you need to protect them, but you don't need to pay $6,000 for that extended warranty, because the cost on that warranty is about $2,000. But unless you know that, and here's the thing, unless you have somebody like me, you can go in and try to negotiate. Well, I hear that the extended warranty is only costs about $2,000.
Yeah, I mean, because people may try to take go from this interview and be like, you know what? Because you've given so many nuggets. Like, look, it's like you're like I got so many notes. I'm like, okay, it's like the two more biggest departments is going to be finance and service. So okay, I didn't get me on this finance. It's almost like, do you go and do we buy a house on our own? Do we negotiate on our own? I think negotiations are best done when you have representative. Like whether you're negotiating, on a car or a home, or you're negotiating to sell your business, or you're negotiating with the IRS to lower your taxes. It's to have a middle person so that you can play the good cop and the bad cop. That's what I call it.
No, you're right. The thing is, I have so many contacts in this business where I have literally sat in a finance office, and the finance manager has told me, well, the cost on this warranty, Patrick, is $3,500. And I've literally sat there and called one of my finance managers of that same brand at another dealership, gave them the VIN number, and told them, give me the cost on this warranty. And come to find out, it was $1,000 less than what the finance manager I'm sitting in front of has told me. And see, that's where because I have a contact.
Gotcha. You gonna have a dealership not making no money. How did this now? After you get done with them, you just told me that it's only about a $2,500 markup on the cost of price of the car. You said that that you know how to get rid of the service, how to get rid of the interest, and all of this stuff. When is the dealership gonna make money? Poor dealership.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. In fairness, I tell people this all the time. My job is not to rate the dealership. My job is to negotiate a fair deal. A fair deal to me for my clients is you get the same deal that the employee is going to get. That's a fair deal.
Yes, okay?
Yes. So the dealership is offering their employees fair deals. My job is to get you that employee deal. And like I said, because I have the contacts that I have, I can send somebody a text message and they can send me, I'm at a particular dealership brand. I can send a text message. What's the cost on this? And get answers pretty much right away. So, and yes, it does. I've been threatened a couple of times. Yeah. It is. But at the end of the day, like I said, my job isn't to rate the dealerships. My job is to negotiate a fair deal between the two parties. And a fair deal is to get my clients an employee deal. And I don't, that's perfectly fair. Again, I pursue it as if I was buying the car for myself, and that's pretty much how I work out the deals. So market, we're dealing with something we've probably never, ever dealt with in the car market. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can't buy a new car. You got to be on a waiting list, with the computer chip shortage. So like if you flew out to Detroit, Michigan right now, and went to the Ford Motor Plant, there are over 40,000 vehicles just sitting in a big parking lot that can't be sold. I mean, back to brand new 2021s, but they can't be sold because you can't there are no computer chips to make them function. Like I said, your vehicles now are just basically rolling computers. So what that has done, in effect, is it's caused used car prices to increase 41% in the last year. Is the cost is how high, used cars. Now, here's the thing. Car dealerships are taking full advantage of this. Okay. On just like on the white LX Lexus that we showed in the beginning, that our clients bought. If you bought a brand new one of those right now, the Lexus dealers are putting a $30,000 adjusted market value on it, above MSRP.
Oh,
because they
wow.
know supply and demand. You know, you want that car, you want it bad enough. We know this is a unicorn, so you got to pay extra. And what they're also doing in the used car market, because it's like I was telling you before, you can only price. So when they list it on the internet, they list it in a competitive price. So they list it so that when you go on your internet search, their vehicle is going to show up in the search. And in order to do that, you have to list it according to the market. What clients don't know is once they get to the dealership, oh, there are a whole bunch of add-ons. So now you've got, so they may have advertised it at $35,000, okay, for the price of that vehicle. But once you get to the dealership, you drive it, you love it, and you get in and you sit down, they start negotiating. On the internet, they didn't tell you about the $1,200 Resistol, which is an exterior and interior coating. They didn't tell you about the $499 tint that they're going to add on. They didn't tell you about the $1,200 LoJack system that they put on there. They didn't tell you about check this one out, the $300 for nitrogen in your tires, and these are all addendums. They're all add-ons. So your $35,000 price that you went in for, when you get there, it's $41,000. There's another $6,000.
Somebody said that they experienced that. One of our viewers said that they just experienced that. Is that legal?
It is. It is. And here's the thing, and that's where someone like me comes in, because Resistol. Let's take Resistol, for instance. It's a $1,295 ad, okay? I did this for 22 years. I sold Resistol when I was in finance manager. I think it came about but they've always had some type of product like that, but Resistol itself came in about 6-7 years ago in the business is when I really started seeing it. Maybe a little, maybe even earlier than that. I moved back to Atlanta in 2010, and it was already here. So I happen to know the regional rep for Resistol. She's one of my Facebook friends, and the application of Resistol is $199, but they're selling it for $1,295. And I actually had to tell a dealer one time, because they're like, well, it's already on the car. And I'm like, well, take it off. Well, we can't take it off. I said, well, my client's not paying for it. And they're hopping and popping, and they're like, well, it cost us $900 to put it on there. And so I went to my phone and I'm like, you know this girl? And they're like, yeah. I said, yeah, she's my Facebook friend. It don't cost $900 to put that on there. It costs $199 to because you got to pay the guys in detail to actually put it on. So they're the ones who are getting paid. But these are the type
wow. I mean, so that's like you're definitely worth having, right? And so I don't want to give them all the goodies. I think we need to continue this conversation. And so I will put it in my back office because it's so much to give. And so maybe we can do like a course or something together on, and I'll add it to the back end replays of the Pocket More Profit Bootcamp, because I do that every quarter, because this is one of the biggest questions that I get, by small business owners is, okay, how do I buy a car for my business? Can I buy a car in this name? What kind of car should I get? How much of it can be a tax deduction? Is it a tax deduction? I mean, we can go on for probably about 3 hours in this conversation from my end to your end. And I just think that, this is Convos and Coffee, and y'all know I got to get to my baby's event. So I want you to tell the people how to reach you, and I want you to commit to us continuing this conversation so that we can make it available to people so that they can learn how to buy a car, learn how to work with me to get the finance book, work with you to make sure they're paying the lowest amount, and then having the business car actually qualify as a tax deduction and getting the maximum deduction that they can get. With me, you guys just go to Pocket More Profit Bootcamp. Register for the replays. It will be in the back office of the replays, okay, by January 1. If you need to buy a car before January 1 because the year is almost over. And I always say before the year ends, it's too late to spend. You can still buy a car. Cars are still on the lot. I know Patrick said that there's not a lot of cars out there, but I promise y'all, he is good. Okay? He is good, good. So if you really need to get your taxes lowered and your business needs a car, I will let you, like Patrick and I have a checklist that can help you get the right car for the maximum deduction. So we could do the analysis for you. He can actually get the asset for you. So you know how to reach me. You go to accountantthisway.com, register for the boot camp if you just want to get the information. If you want to work with either of us, you can go to me at accountantthisway.com. Patrick, tell them how to get you at real estate. And you can follow both of us on our Instagrams. I'm SpicedaJackson. Patrick is Real Estate Consulting. And, here we go. Come on, Patrick.
And you can reach me on my email. My email is patrick@realestateconsulting.com. Or you can call me directly on my cell phone. It's 404-450-0581.
Give that one more time, and Laura will put it on the screen, Patrick.
Yeah, it's 404-450-0581. And I always answer my cell phone. So you can call me there. You can reach me on my email, patrick@realestateconsulting.com, or you can go to my website, realestateconsulting.com, and click, and you can actually fill out a questionnaire to ask you all the questions, gives me all the pertinent information. It'll come directly to my email. That way I'll know exactly what you're looking for, the whole nine. But yeah, I always say the best way is just to call me, and I will answer.
Well,
So,
Patrick, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for blessing all the viewers with this, because this is a hot topic and I'm not going to let it go. It'll definitely be a part of the Pocket More Profit Bootcamp. And because I want business owners to keep winning, and I know you do too. So thank you for joining me, my friend. And we're going to ride this out. So until next time, guys, thank you for joining me. And, I will be available. I think we're, what does it say? Something on the screen. Laura, can you zoom in? Bye, Patrick. I'll call you later, friend.
Look forward to it.
Okay, y'all. Thank you for joining us for Business Combos and Coffee. If you want to get that Pocket More Profit Bootcamp, meet us for that. We will see you next Friday, same time, same place. And if you want more on this topic, go to accountantthisway.com to get the replay or register for our bootcamp. Okay, see you later. Bye.
The profit you want, the tax bill you want, and the freedom you want will be fueled by you reinvesting your profits back in your business. That's exactly why I founded the Pocket More Profit Bootcamp Challenge. Just for small business owners, contractors, consultants, those of you who just do business on the side, I founded this challenge to help you know the business tax deductions that belong to you. Now, I'm on a mission this year. I want to help 1,000 businesses pocket more profit so that you can take your business to the next level. Join the Pocket More Profit Bootcamp at www.pocketmoreprofitbootcamp.com.